What's up guys, Mitch from the DIYRecordingStudio.com, and today I thought I'd take you guys on a bit of a tour of my drum setup in this studio because we're all about DIY here, and I want to show how I have my drum set up in my home studio, which, isn't the largest of rooms. It's like, decent sized enough, but it's not a massive room by any means. It is basically just a single car garage that's been converted into a recording space. I'll take you through the microphones I use and how I utilize all of those and some of my cool gear in this space to get really, really awesome drum sounds. It's going to be an awesome video, so let's get into it. Now behind me, I probably have one of the most important microphone pairings for capturing a really big, impressive drum sound. They're just here. These are my RM5 ribbon microphones, and they're mounted in the corner of my room away from my drum kit. And the job of those ribbon mics is to pick up a big stereo image of the whole drum kit. And they're in a classic ribbon pairing, which is called Bloomline. And basically, because ribbon mics pick up from the front and the back, you end up with this really interesting polar pickup pattern when they're paired together. And it just gives you this amazing, huge drum sound. And we'll have a look at that in a minute, but they are the key to getting a massive room sound in a small studio like mine. Now above me right here, we have probably the second most important pairing of microphones. They are my S12s from micparts.com. The S12s are actually an awesome replication of the famous C414 and C12 circuits from AKG, and these microphones as overheads are just excellent. What they do is they pull out these really long cymbal tails and lots of detail of the cymbals, whilst also giving you a very snappy representation of the snare drum and the drum image as a whole. They're really, really beautiful as an overhead mic pairing, and I love those as overheads. And I'll get a close-up of them right now. There's the left and the right. If I zoom back a bit, you can see them nice and high on that drum kit there, and you can see that I've got a cloud above the drums there as well to make sure there's no reflections coming off the roof so much getting in the way of our drum sound. Then down here we have the beginnings of our close microphones. First up, most important, we have a kick in mic, and that's my trusty Beta 52A from Shure. And then right next to it, I have my latest DIY project, which I'll have a video coming soon on. It is the bucket sub. It's my DIY version of a famous sub kick design by Yamaha. A lot of you should be familiar with it, but basically I'm going to show you in a video coming real soon how to build a sub kick of your own, because they're becoming very expensive. Now, the rest of my microphone setup's pretty standard. We've got snare drum, SM57 top, and underneath another 57 as well. Really stock standard stuff there. On toms, we've got the classic MD421s. You can't beat those on toms. They just have an amazing sound. Floor as well, MD421. Then I have on ride an Octava, the MK012 from memory. Awesome cheap little microphone, great on hi-hats, love that thing. Then just on ride as a close ride mic, I have the Rode NT5, just to pick up some extra cymbal detail on my ride cymbal. So now I've taken you through the mic choices that I use in the studio to capture drums. Most importantly, we need to have a listen to what that actually sounds like. So let's pull up the drums and have a listen. Alrighty, so here's the session that I tracked yesterday with the local band I mentioned before called Pulse. Definitely go check them out.
I'm not going back.
So these drums, there is zero processing except for some reverb. I'll turn that off. There's a reverb only on the room mics. So this is completely unprocessed, no EQ, nothing going on whatsoever. Just straight from the mic, through the preamps and stuff, through the desk, and then into Cubase. But I'll go through each of the mics and we'll have a listen. Let's start with kick drum. So the kick in is the Beta 52. So the Beta 52 is a great kick drum mic. I prefer it for kick in because it has this clickiness, but the low frequencies you tend to get from it, to me, always feel a little bit artificial. Like they're being boosted, but they're boosted with proximity, which isn't the same as the microphone generating that from the diaphragm. So it never cuts through the mix the way I want it to, which is why I started looking at building my own sub kick. Now let's listen to that. And the cool thing about this sub kick, you can see here we get lots of 50 hertz and then just so much roll off. And I could add a roll off here further if I needed to as well to get rid of some of that snare, but that 1K is probably given some punch as well. And then the real secret sauce here is the combination of the two. So we've got this really solid punchy 50 hertz. And have a listen as I mute the sub kick, which is the kick out, and then put it back in the mix. It's all this extra weight that you get. Then snare top and bottom were just 57s. Nice gritty snare tone there. That was going through the 1176 on the way in. Pretty classic snare bottom there together. Without the snare bottom. With the snare bottom. Heaps of tone and stuff going on there. And if we combine the snare and the kick, really loving the tonalities of both those. Straight raw in through my usual gear. Hats were the Octava mic. I had just some basic EQ coming through the Allen and Heath console, just rolling off some lows and some low mids on that one. The toms are the MD421s. Floor. And like, they do get a bit of spill. Some people hate them for the amount of spill that they get. I don't find it really that big a problem. I feel like they bring out a really nice tonality. And I'm going to get rid of all that spill later on in editing anyway, so that's not really a problem for me. Have a listen to our overheads. So these are the C414 clones, the S12s from micparts.com. There we go. So you can hear that we're just getting really great cymbal detail from those S12s. Definitely a microphone that I really, really love on overheads. That C414 AKG sound that we're looking for. And these kind of have that sort of softer high and mid frequency like the original C414. So if you're looking for that sound and the less harsh modern version, these are a mic that you might be interested in. And then last but not least, we've got our room mics. Now I've got these pretty narrowly spread. I like them to sound, you know, a little bit more mono in this mix, the way they're set up. And then a heap of room reverb. Now without the room reverb, let's just have a listen to them naturally in the room. And you can very much hear how much of the snare, like fatness and crack, is coming from those room mics, and then also the shells and the rest of the natural room tone of the drum kit are just being picked up in this really beautiful way by those stereo ribbons in Bloomlime. And then the secret, because I'm in such a small room, even though these have a pretty good room sound, if you add a bit of reverb to them, they can sound even bigger. So here's no reverb. And then that gives you all that big room kind of energy there. So let's listen to the drums. And then with the whole mix on. Cool, and you can hear that all together, those close mics combined with the overheads, and then combined ultimately with those room mics, and then just a nice room reverb, like a chamber reverb. With only 12 microphones, we're just getting this really amazing drum sound. And it's taken me years to figure out the microphones that I like and what's going to get me the sounds that I'm chasing. And obviously I could change these mics for different situations. Sometimes I like the ribbons as overheads. Sometimes I like different combinations of these microphones with kick in or snare bottom or whatever. But this is pretty much my standard go-to, and it works very, very well for me, particularly in this room. Hopefully you found this information useful, especially if you're trying to create a drum recording space like I have. Let me know in those comment sections down below. What are your favorite microphones on drums? And if you have any questions about the equipment that I've shown in this video, hit me up in the comment section down below, or better yet, go to my Instagram and follow me there. It's a much easier way to communicate with me sometimes. You can also email me at mitch@thediyrecordingstudio.com, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I've got lots more amazing content coming soon, especially a DIY build of that sub kick that I showed you all earlier. Thanks again for stopping by. I'm Mitch from the DIYrecordingstudio.com, and I'll catch you soon.